play anything you want. If you want to read the...
Watch the cord.
Watch where you're going.
Daddy tripped over the cord.
Sure.
You can figure out what happened.
Amy?
What was the condition of traffic? Were there a lot of automobiles? Were there streetcars? Were there
Streetcars.
cars? Were there
Streetcars.
Were there
We came from New York on the train. And it took us, I think, 20 hours at that time.
From Russia? How did you get to New York?
On a boat.
All right. That's what he wants to know. Details. Tell him details.
Like my mother. Like, when I was a kid, I remember in Chicago that the milkman had a horse-drawn car before the Second World War. When you got married at that time, the streetcars, they didn't have horses pulling them.
Well,
No.
when I was 14 years old, I went to work, but I had to use streetcars.
Streetcars, yeah.
And then Victor worked for Derek, and he was driving a horse and wagon. But after after I had the first baby, then my brother-in-law bought a car, and then when we bought the grocery store, Victor bought a car. So that was the first car we had.
Look across the picture.
When was Sidney born?
He was a preemie. He was born a year after we were married.
1918?
And
1919?
then we bought a grocery store. Then Zane was born 7 years after Sydney. and Jerry was born 6 years after. Well, it was 13 years difference between Sydney and Jerry. Then we had the grocery store for about 6 years. Then we moved out. Then I had Pauline live with me. Oh, that half the story is too much.
It's too much? You can stop any time, unless my mother wants to ask.
Come on, Cody,
You want to ask a question?
I have a big tape. You used the whole tape with me.
Aunts Ann.
I wasn't hesitant. I told him all
Aunts
about
Ann,
the family.
thank you very, very much.
I told him all
And
about
it's a pleasure to see you in California, even though the air is no good for you. How cold is it in Chicago? It had a terrible storm.
I can't talk that long.
Oh, okay. San Antonio, California. So nice
Just
that you could be
delightful.
here.
It's delightful seeing you again.
We have Aunts Ann and my mother on tape, and it's the youngest daughter. Would like a little bit of your childhood recollections and what you did when you met Uncle Rube and
Oh,
when you moved to Waukegan. Stories like that.
well, I met Rube shortly after my mother died, and I wasn't going to go to the dance. A friend of his was the social director at the Humboldt
Howard,
Arts
Can you
Temple.
make it a little louder?
It's not on now, and
Oh, it isn't?
we have to.
No.
It's just recording now, and then when we play it, it'll be on.
And so whenever there was a dance at the temple, this boy that used to live in Waukegan notified the other young men there, and they would come in for the dance. And that's how I happened to meet.
Now I can see she's my sister. Oh, do I look horrible?
Uncle Rube was, what, 15
Yeah,
years
no,
older than you?
No, he was 10 years old.
10 years older.
Then you are.
And we went together for about a year. He was very serious and I wasn't. And so after a year, I told him that I wasn't going to see him anymore. And I came upstairs and cried. And Mother said, well, if you love him, why did you break up with him? I didn't see him for about 3 years. And then I met him again. We started growing together once again, and we're married about 6 months later.
Did Uncle Rube always live in Waukegan?
He was born and raised in Waukegan. In fact, his godfather was Jack Benny's father.
What did the family think about, one, moving to Waukegan, and two, Uncle Rube being 10 years older than you?
Well, Dave was the only one that asked me if I didn't think Rube was too old for me. And I said, no, I didn't think so. Dad never said anything, never made any objection. Gordon Bent thought he was a farmer. And
What's your name?
I never thought he acted his age. And
How old were you when you got married?
I was almost 22.
He was 32. That was a big difference.
It is a big difference.
Between 22 and 32.
But he never acted like a man that was that much older. And after we had the children, we grew up with them. We had a good time.
Came in.
You never moved back to Chicago?
No,
Just,
no.
yeah.
No,
What?
we lived in Waukegan. I still live there, and it'll be 48 years in April.
What do you like about Waukegan now? Just friends that have been there?
It's been my home for so many years that it's very hard to think of even moving to make a change. The few friends I have left, I think it would be difficult to move. And then I would have to move either to Skokie or Chicago, and I don't think I would like that.
When did you sell the house with the double lot?
When did I sell it?
Uh-huh.
Shortly after Uncle Lou died, yes. But there are so many memories. Lisa and Julie were 8 and 6, and to this day they talk about the different things about the house, the fence around the apple tree and the cherry tree, and picking raspberries. And it was a fun place. It was.
I think about clean ashtrays, dinky, not being allowed in the house,
Yes.
having to take off your shoes before you come in, and spare ribs. That's what I remember.
Spare ribs.
And
Well,
chicken.
that spare rib party, That was so funny, Howard. We were sitting around the table, and you and Marv were there, and we had such a good time. And I wanted so to make something that you would enjoy, something that you didn't get at home. So I decided to make asparagus. And when you were eating them, you said, Aunt Zelda, are you Jewish? And I said, yes, I'm Mother's sister. Why? And you said, but you made pig. And I said, well, I thought you would like it. Aunt Gert told me how to make asparagus. And he said, well, it really isn't your fault, because Aunt Gertie showed you how. But you know what? They're good.
They were good.
And you enjoyed them.
I also remember, I think when Uncle Victor died, we went to Waukegan. It was somewhere around that time. And Miriam was there with Seymour, and they had the binoculars out in the backyard.
Yes.
Bird watching.
Bird watching,
And
yes.
she got some pigeon dew right in her head or something.
I don't remember that.
I remember that.
But I remember Uncle Rube taking you to the wrestling matches. Do you remember that?
I remember the wrestling matches and
Fishing.
fishing and the baseball games.
And
Johnson Motor Boys.
Yeah, and bowling. Used to take you bowling. It was nice because we exchanged children. I sent mine to South Bend. Mother would send you
And
to
you got a
Waukegan.
vacation out of it too, didn't
Well,
you?
both of us did.
That was clever, wasn't it?
No, I think it was nice because I think the cousins had a chance to get acquainted, and even to this day,
I think it's great.
don't you think
Good idea.
it's a good idea? I think it worked out very nicely. I know Phyllis has always had such a warm spot for you and Marv.
I think like with my children, the difference in ages, David and Mari grew up with cousins, all female, their ages, and Amy and Annie did not.
Well, I never knew.
Big difference.
I never knew David very well until he came to Chicago to visit. But he's such a charming young man, and he's such a delight. And Phyllis and Fred adore him, and they think of him as their son.
Oh my God. But David.
I don't think so. I don't think he's overpowered.
No, I don't think so.
But he did have a good time whenever he came out. It was so nice visiting with him.
As long as I have all three of you here, maybe we can have one shot. Maybe do you still do the song and dance you used to do? The three sisters.
We are the girls of the opening chorus.
We can get them together.
We would take one together. So thank you, Aunt Zelda.
Oh, you're welcome, honey. It was a delight.
About a few weeks before he died, he
Oh,
turned
really?
gray.
I was
Okay.
turning gray when I was
We have my mother.
about 18.
You did?
Mm-hmm. Deanna was born with the gray hair.
No kidding.
My father was gray, very young.
I started when I was 35.
Zelda, that's a good picture of you.
Yes,
now.
I said it was.
Yeah, before. You see, when you wear glasses normally, if you take them off and you take a picture, you look like you're drawn and quartered.
Can't you guys sing a song or anything? I mean, you must know.
Yeah, see
you're
how
too
she,
far
how
away.
light, it must be her clothes she has on.
It's the
Too
light
far
too.
away.
Who?
No, no,
Light?
and Zelda.
No.
Zelda's
far
got
away?
no.
Oh.
Yeah.
Zelda's got darker clothes. Is that what you mean?
No,
No, I
she has
think
lighter
it's-
clothes.
it's
No, I
just
think
the
it's
light.
your hair. Your hair blends in with the brick.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe I'll.
You don't know any
Should I
family
cut my
songs
hair
or
off?
something? The Dolly Sisters or anything like that?
No,
The Dolly
no.
Sisters?
She's laughing because my
Well,
hair is
well,
dark.
that's
You two
three.
have like the gray hair.
And this
Mine
is
dark.
February
Mine.
1981.
She's still trying to find
And
a young
Bertie
man.
is going to be
I had a
75.
real grandma.
And Zelda's going to
My
be
hair's not
70.
so white.
And then Ann's 84.
And a half.
The act's going to be 85.
85 in July.
And we should all live so long with health and happiness.
Thank you, dear son.
Thank you, Dolly Sisters.
I
You
think
got it
everyone
right?
was yelling.
You're
so
terrific.
no one heard it.
We want to get this nice. Is it like that?
Oh, that's nice. No, that's nice. Because
That's
that girl.
better.
Oh,
That's better?
well, it shows your face more.
Okay.
Yeah, bring it.
Okay, it's August 1982, and Mars come back from 14 months in Israel. Hi, Mars. Tell us about it.
That's the only question. No, it has to be more specific.
Well, what did you do for 14 months?
Work, you mean?
Well, well, you went to school and you lived on a kibbutz.
I got there and I started after a week I started working in the grapevine, with the grape in the vineyard, in the orchards,
Of Jerusalem?
of the kibbutz I was on, kibbutz Sara.
And where is
It's,
Sarah?
it's near Beit Shemesh.
And where is that?
It's about 26 kilometers north of Jerusalem. And the fields run down Shimshon Valley where Samson fought the giant, and along the area where he fell in love with Delilah.
And what are the mountains around the valley called?
They're called. They don't have a name.
Aren't they called the Judean Mountains? Or
No, they're not.
Hills of Judea?
No,
No.
they're not.
Okay. They don't
That's
have a
in the
name.
Judean desert area.
Okay.
I'm sure they do have a name, I just don't know.
How large is the kibbutz?
It's about 750 people. And there's 350 members and about 200 children. And the leftovers are people that are candidates for membership, or groups or volunteers, friends and guests, and the average 7.
I remember there's a freeway from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and it's off the freeway. And there's a little road, and then you take what? You walk from the highway. How far is it that you walk from the highway to the kibbutz?
There's a bus that goes sometimes, but a lot of times you walk from off the main street to the kibbutz. It's about 1 kilometer, 0.6 miles.
How do you become a member?
So you have to be a member on a established kibbutz. You have to go through a candidacy period of usually 2 years, where you come to the kibbutz and you don't have, you still can have a bank account. You still can have you can have a car. Let's say you can't leave it. You can have your possessions, but you don't have to give them up to the kibbutz. But you're not allowed to use the car. You act as though you're a member, and you spend 2 years. After a year, you're voted on to see how you're if there's chances for you becoming a member, so that you don't stay for 2 years and then suddenly say, hey, look, you've got to leave. And you basically live as the members do, and you get a special like a
Percentage?
it's it's like an account, and it's money that you get. You eat all your meals with the kibbutz, and you have all your home and lodging and your children's clothes is all paid for by the kibbutz. So the only thing you get money for is special food, or going into town and seeing movies and whatever, or presents, whatever you want to buy. You have a special account for, and which is an amazing amount of money. I think it comes out to about $25 a month per person.
Mari, when you are received into kibbutz, what are the ramifications then for the individual?
If you come from the city, you're not allowed. You can't own anything. You don't own anything personally. Everything you own is shared. You have your goods inside your house. I mean, everyone has a stereo, and everyone has records and tapes, decks, and everyone has these certain things that they've acquired over the years as presents and gifts, and people have given them, and they've bought something.
What about bicycles and motorcycles?
And bicycles, and motorcycles they don't have so much, but
Motorbikes.
most of the people, if you work in a certain area, like people that work out in the field, let them have little motorcycles to get there.
But then you have to give up all your worldly possessions,
Like your bank account.
your real
Those are
estate,
worldly possessions.
your cell phone, things like that.
We've had a sailboat. You could give it to the kibbutz. If you have a car, you can give it to the kibbutz. And there are ways you can keep your car. I mean, it's your name. The kibbutz uses it, and if you decide to leave the kibbutz, you take everything with you.
People have bank accounts there, don't they?
No, you shouldn't have a bank account. Well, people do. There are people do right and wrong things.
But if a family member sent you money, you supposedly
You can
turn it over?
No, you can be sent gifts. I mean, that's a gift. Someone sent me $5,000, and I didn't give any to the kibbutz, and by peer pressure, I'd probably want to leave. But it's not. If someone sent me $100, everyone gets money. Everyone seems like presents. I mean, you send people. That's something else, but not like daily keeping an account in town, or working out of town and hiding and bringing in money.
You went there originally to go to school.
I did.
Right, and you finished the year at school.
Right.
Right, and you got credit for the University of California.
Right.
Okay. Then tell us then you worked though like an average person on the kibbutz.
My group, it was, when we got there, we studied in the Ulpan, which was we studied all summer learning Hebrew, and we worked, instead of working an 8-hour day, we worked a 6-hour day, and then we had class in the afternoon. And so, and then through the winter months, we studied more than we worked. And so we weren't in for candidacy, we weren't coming up for membership, so we all came with money, and we were just like living as volunteers in a way. But we were a special kind of group.
How long, you said 8 hours, the average kibbutz works 8 hours a day?
An established kibbutz, like people work about 8-hour days. Like in the way like Ronen works when he's in season, he works 7 days a week, about 8 hours, about 10 hours. But during the off season, like when it rains, during the winter it rains a lot, so they work only like maybe 5-hour days, 6-hour days if it's raining.
When you say in season, what season are you talking about?
Like the cotton season.
The cotton season.
What month?
What?
The season starts in, like the agricultural season starts in March, and it ends after the harvest in October.
What is Ronan doing in the fields? His duties?
He's in charge. He works with irrigation.
And how did you fall in love? And where did you meet him?
Yeah.
I met him.
Yeah.
Did you fall in love by that valley you were explaining?
I met him.
Was it love at first sight?
No, I didn't know who. I mean, he came and I just kind of started talking to him outside the dining hall, and then we had a long political conversation.
Is the kibbutz very political?
They're very, very in favor of the labor movement, but there's a lot of politics. There's one of the new members of the Knesset is from Torah. There's a lot of people very involved in the labor movement. Most of the kibbutzim usually produce a lot of the good army officers and the government officials.
How does the kibbutz run when the men have to go into the service, or the women, or both? Are they understaffed at that time?
Between 18 and 21, there's 3 years where all males go into the army. Basically, those 3 years, and then until they're 50, they serve. You do like a service to the army. Most people are 30 days a year they spend in service in the army, and you're called up for like service. It's training where you sit behind a desk or whatever, keeping up to keep up your army status periodically. So they're not all taken at once. And in a war, from what I've heard and how the questions I asked when like the last war, basically like the high school boys do a lot of the work, and after 50, there's certain statuses like people that have heart problems don't go into the army, and there's usually a lot of people that are around, but most of the men aren't going.
What about the women?
Women go in the army between 18 and 20, and they serve Miluim. They have service to the army up until the age of 25 instead of 50. But women don't usually serve after their 2 years. And women's jobs they always serve desk jobs, and
They don't go into the...
No. They go through basic training, but 6 weeks of basic training, and
Will you go through that?
No, because she's trying to learn.
and if you come into the country after 20, I'm too old. If you come into the country after you're 20 years old, you don't have to.
Well, how did you fall in love with Ronan? Tell him.
I guess it just kind of happened. We just hit it off.
Tell us more about, like, if you work on a kibbutz, who assigns the jobs, how do you get your the jobs, and what's the average of the day or week like from Sunday to Shabbat?
There's like an intergovernmental setup. So they elect the kibbutz people. It's called an asifa. It's like the general meeting once a week, and they elect like a mayor, in a sense, and a work organizer, and someone like to take care of is in charge of education. Someone's in charge of the cultural events and the activities, and someone's in charge of finding in industry, and someone's in charge of running each little section. And then there's a daily work organizer who makes sure that there's going to be like 15 people in the kitchen or 20 people in the laundry, or they need extra people because it's harvest in the field. And then there's one person that like tries and arranges how many people are going to need it during each season during the whole year. And everyone has like jobs. There's people that work like with the accounting, and there's people, and there's a lot of like there's people that work like this. They have with Sorah, it's like a big kibbutz. They have like a computer system coming in, and they have to like figure out like accounting and work days and all these things.
And where did you work?
I worked for about 2 months in the vineyard, folding vines. Well, and then I worked. They have a absorption center, so I worked with children from all over the world coming in that were coming to live in Israel, babies, mostly French and Spanish. And then I worked there all winter, and then the last 3 months I worked with part day with 5 and 6 year olds in the summer, and part day with 1.5 year olds, the Israeli kibbutz children.
The kibbutz is run as a business, in other words. It is a business.
Well, everyone has to survive somehow. No, they don't survive only on their produce alone.
No, but
It's only, and these days the kibbutzim are only surviving because of their industries. And it's run like there is someone that takes, there has to be someone that handles the business side.
it is a business.
What's the main product?
They have, Sorah has, they have a chrome plating factory. They used to make bicycles, and they make furniture, like, the kind of like, you know, you go into a clothes store, the stands that clothes are hanging on, and they make chrome-plated furniture. And they have a clothes designing factory. And they sell very expensive, like, designing clothes.
Are they
Very, very
imported?
small.
Or
They're-
exported?
No, they're not exported. They make dolls there. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
and they grow cotton, and they grow internally, like just for their own. They have a dairy, so they grow the grain for the cows, and they have sheep, and they grow almonds, persimmons, avocados, grapes for wine.
Is there a drinking or a drug product on the kibbutz? Or are they drinking just
Problem?
drinking drugs on the kibbutz?
There's very, very few drugs. Actually, like the common people, kibbutzim especially, there's almost no drugs. Very looked down upon. And most Israelis really feel like that Israeli youth cannot afford to take drugs because of if everyone, they seriously believe that if any second of war started and everyone was just into drugs, that the country would fall apart. They're very, there isn't much drinking either.
Let's say you and
In
Ronan,
the city, maybe.
you and Ronan get married, and you both work on the kibbutz, like Sorah. What time do you go to work, and then let's say you have a child, and when do you leave the child, and how long does the child live with you, and those types of things.
For a young couple that's not married, both the woman and the man work basically 8 hours. It depends, like, if you work inside the kibbutz in like education or in the kitchen or whatever, you work basically like a 7 to 3 day. And then women with babies, as soon as you have a baby, you have 6 weeks of no working, and then you work 4 hours a day to your baby's half a year old. And then until your baby's 4 years old or 5 years old, you work 6 hour a day. And you take your child to a care center, and your child.
Where you work?
It's where I work. With there's like 5 children, all one like close to each other's age. And there's one woman that starts with them from birth until they're going into the like nursery school. And there's 5 children. They have like a learning process, and everyone, and they go there from 7 to 4:30, and a working mother comes about twice a day to visit her children. They have, like, you get special breaks and come to visit your children. And if a working father feels he can come too. They usually, like every time you come to eat a meal in the main dining room, they come and see their children. And
What goes on in the nursery? In other words, are there what activities for the child, or is it just?
usually, like, they get there and they have, like in the summer months, they have like a small pool, and they also can go to the big pool. And they have a lot of like books and like different kinds of like
It's a program then, as
It's like-
opposed
it's like
to
a
just
program.
babysitting.
It's not just babysitting. I mean, they learn certain things like the like the child care center worker. The Metropolitan has they help with all the learning processes. Like they learn how to toilet training and teeth brushing and learning how to they start to learn how to read. And they start all the little things that they start to learn. They learn it's like a small classroom for babies.
And the mother doesn't really raise her children.
No, that's not true at all. I mean, it's like a working mother. Because 4:30 you come and you take your children and they go home. They sleep at home with you. It's not rarely, only on very, 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 very labor-oriented kibbutzim do the children live in children's houses away from the parents.
Well, what happens if a child gets sick? Can the parents stay and take care of the child?
And there's a healthcare center, like a clinic on the kibbutz, and there's doctors. The doctor comes every day. And there's a nurse there on duty all the time. There's a lot of nurses.
They get special care, in other words.
Yeah, there's special care.
And the average worker, when his kid is, say, 5 or 6 or 7, what time does he pick up the child after the day's work?
About 4:30.
And what time does he leave work?
About 2 or 3. So they go home. You can go home and everyone goes home and takes a nap before the kids come home.
I think that's a super idea. No matter how many children you have, you always have some time alone.
Children in the hot or